Okay, here we go. What's up, guys? I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna wait a little bit for Matti, who's gonna come, but he's gonna come by Skype though. But this Q&A is gonna be a bit more like the usual ones that we used to do, more of like just question and answer type, but with me and Matti. So it's kind of fun to do this type of format. I don't know how this is gonna work out though, because this is the first time that we do this type. So let me know. Audio okay, everything okay. I haven't forgotten to put on the mic, but you never know if it works, so let me know. I hear Matti in the headphones, so just gonna wait. There the light goes. Maybe you need to turn that on. 1 second, so just give me a moment. There we go. I put this on timer because I don't want to waste, too much electricity, but it doesn't seem to work. It always goes off in the live streams. So let's see who's here. Will was here. I talked to you. What's up, Will? Officials, what's up? What's up? Sam, don't forget to check the mic. Nope. Ninja, hello. Audio's good, perfect. Yeah, so I was thinking we would talk a little bit about like gear, but also like filmmaking in general, especially since like me and Matti is working on this documentary. And to everybody that supported the Kickstarter that we're doing, we're halfway in terms of the funding. So amazing, thanks to everybody that supported it. If you haven't checked it out already, go check the Kickstarter out. It's just like a package of us and Matti, like our courses, our mentoring, everything. Just go check out the Kickstarter if you haven't already. But let's see if you have any. What is you? Yeah, that's fun. I got some questions. I think me and Matti are gonna dig into them, but let me know what you want to know. If it's anything regarding filmmaking, ask away, like you have both of us now, and we can discuss this in between us. But mainly, like, we want to talk about documentary filmmaking and having it be like around how we work. We work in a very different way. He works in one way with his channel. I work in a different way with my channel. But for the doc, we're pretty similar in terms of like the style that we like. So I think that it's not that like difficult to collaborate in terms of style, but the channels are very different. So it's kind of interesting to have that discussion, because like I use small cameras, like MFT cameras. He uses more full frame type of cameras. We have like different opinions on those things. So I think that can be interesting to talk about. But let me know what you guys want to talk about, and yeah, we hope to answer any questions you have. I don't know if I should tell Matti that we should do this now, but I'll just text him and see. Maybe he sees if I put the headphones on. Anytime you're ready, that's what I said. Okay, so first question that I got that I thought I could just like dig into. Okay, so let's change that. We're gonna mix this now. Matti's gonna come here. I was stressing him out. Hopefully you can watch this afterwards and sync them. I don't know if you can. I'm just watching him, so so wait for it, he's coming. I'm ready. Let's see how we do this. I'll just switch over to both of us.
Okay, this right here is my friend Johnny. Johnny. This is weird. How do we do this? Like he's live streaming on his channel and I'm live streaming here. So I don't know if we really thought this through. Johnny, who are you? Tell my audience. I know it's going to be a bit repetitive for your audience. Who are you? Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, so Johnny has a great like YouTube channel, kind of like similar mindset as mine. But Johnny's also filmed already some documentaries. So there's like a bunch. He has like a bunch of insight on the whole documentary experience, and just like not only making it the business side of how to get funding for it. Speaking of funding, we're doing a Kickstarter campaign. You can see the link down below in the description. So this Kickstarter that we're doing is basically all about bringing you guys along for the ride, to learn with us, learn from our mistakes, because I'm sure we're going to make some mistakes, right, Johnny? Yeah, so yeah, so it's all about learning. There's gonna be courses, exclusive live streams. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on there. So if you guys want to promote or support this big doc project that we're gonna be taking on, go and check out the Kickstarter. We'd love to have you on board. First of all, Johnny, you're the director.
Yeah.
What is the documentary gonna be about?
It's funny because like docs usually they change so much. Like they go from like being one thing, and then like if you make a doc in general, like you start with an idea, and if it doesn't change, you're pretty much not listening, I think. So for us, we started making a film that was about like 4 stories around the world, and then we went to Kino together, and then we discovered like this amazing place where like the whole idea that we have for like 4 corners of the world, it really changed. Like everything just like totally changed as we started filming, and all of a sudden I think we understood that story that we wanted to do in 4 corners of the world, it existed in this small community in Kino City. So that's a bit what it's changed to be. And in terms of like the storyline, from the beginning it was about like finding this global kind of conflict in terms of natural resources and climate change and all that, but on a personal small scale level, with just like people living their lives, how are they affected. And then in Kino City we really found that, but within a small tiny community that's affected by like a mining company coming in and extracting resources. But it's not like a political doc, it's more about like the human stories within that. How does it affect that place, and like both sides, like negative, positive.
Yeah. So like it started off as this totally different idea, and it's probably going to still end up being a totally different idea than we have now. But we went to this place in Yukon, Canada. It's like right beside Alaska, kind of in the middle of nowhere, barely any people living there, and just like the most interesting people I've ever met in my life were there. And like maybe some of you have had this experience where you're filming something and it already feels like you're watching a movie or a documentary. And that's what I was getting all the time. And that to me is like, there's a story here. There's something really interesting about this place. So we don't know exactly where this story is going to go, the story of Kino City and the people there. We kind of have maybe some ideas, but like I think both of our filmmaking style is just kind of letting things happen and capturing that. All sides of it. We don't have any agenda here. We're not some sort of climate change activists. We're not We're not for the oil companies. We're completely trying to be just unbiased and kind of just show the situation. Somebody asked on my channel, what is the money going towards on the Kickstarter? Do you want to answer that down here?
I can answer that, yeah. So from the beginning, like the Kickstarter we thought about was like, okay, we don't want to make it about the film and us making the film, but it is empowering us to make a behind the scenes web series and behind the scenes educational material for you to learn filmmaking. Yeah. That's the essence of the Kickstarter. But for us, we're using the money to make the film and pay for the expenses to make the film. But in like terms of perks and what you get, it's educational material, our courses, Matti's courses, our mentorship, that sort of thing, like exclusive Q&As. So we're fundraising for us to make the film, but we're empowering you to make films. That's basically the concept for the whole Kickstarter. So we're trying to kind of twist it around and not be so like centered around you getting the film and to see the film, because that's further down the line as well. So we don't know if that's like the web series we can offer straight away.
Yeah. So literally the money is going to things like flights, food while we're on the shoot, an editor to edit this, because like editing a documentary is like such a daunting process. So like we're definitely going to need help with that. So it's literally for all that stuff. I don't even know if I'm going to make any. I probably won't make any money from this documentary. But for me, this documentary is not about making money. Like it's kind of like a passion project for me. It's something that I've wanted to do for so long. So yeah, I'm super excited. But I don't know. I haven't been looking at the chat. I'm like trying to. There's so much going on now that.
I can just bring some question in here while you check. But I got one question here. Let's see, where did it go? Here we go. But this one is pretty hard to answer because it's specific, but let's just try it. What settings do you use when filming, especially if you have to set these settings fast? I guess that comes down to how do you automate like your filmmaking and make it easier. That's what is the essence of it. What's your thoughts on that?
Like I kind of run with the same settings the whole time if I'm in a specific scenario. Like I like to shoot very wide open, so I'm pretty much at the lowest f-stop half the time that I can shoot at. I like really isolating my subject. 24p, we're always like we barely did any slow-mo. Most of the time documentaries are real time. So 24p, what else is there?
I think we had a challenge because we were trying to sync our cameras as well. I used the Ursa and you used the C300, but I had the C300 before, so I knew what that camera was. So it was quite easy to match them, I feel, when I watched the material. But we did have like a timecode generator to get them in sync, and you shot most of the stuff, but it was certain days where we had two cameras. But those cameras are very different in terms of auto and not auto, because the Ursa is definitely not auto. While like if you use like a GH5 or something, you can actually have like autofocus. But for me, like I like to have it as manual as I can, because I feel like it's more intuitive in terms of anything. Like it's not the lenses anymore that you want those manually, but usually like when I shoot for the channel, for instance, I probably stay around like 5.6 or something on a full frame. But when I'm out, I might change it because I can manually adjust. But when you shoot like this, you want to have like, you want to be able to move a little bit without being out of focus.
Yeah, it's actually funny because like I'm so used to, in YouTube filmmaking world, I use autofocus all the time for video. Like I rely on it constantly. But then for doc filming, you really can't do that. So it's interesting kind of getting into like, oh yeah, manual focusing, rack focusing and everything like that. And like, it just takes practice, right? Like everything is literally going to be in manual on a doc shoot or any more legit shoot, really. You want full control of your settings and everything. So, but yeah, it's practice. Like you just got to practice focusing. I was literally before the shoot, I was like, you know, just like trying to trying to focus on one thing, focus on another thing, and like just practicing that and getting back into the whole manual focusing thing.
Yeah, because it was funny because you had done like YouTube stuff for a long time without doing docs.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many of your audience knows how much, because you've done a lot of docs before, and that's what we saw Rescate, and we saw like other stuff than the YouTube channel. So it felt like you had a similar style in terms of like docs that you've worked on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I haven't shot, I mean, YouTube is kind of like documentary filmmaking in a sense, but it's a little bit different. But yeah, I hadn't shot anything for probably like almost a year other than YouTube stuff. And if you don't know, I only pretty much shoot YouTube stuff nowadays, stuff that goes on my channel. But yeah, I've had this like long-term experience of shooting a lot of like, especially doc type commercials. That was like kind of my bread and butter for a long time. Alex Chong was asking any advice for filming a doc. I think of course you got to master all the camera skills and everything. You got to be really fast and be able to read the situation. But like the story is the main thing. Like if you have a story, like have you watched Making a Murderer, Johnny?
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't been sold on it.
So the style of it, to me is horrible. Like it's really like cinematically, it's not very well done. Like I don't like the way it's shot, but it kind of fits the story. But the storyline to me is so good and engaging that I can completely bypass the fact that I don't really like the filming in it or like the way it's done, like visually. So yeah, that's why I'd say just like focus on the story. And a lot of people think that the story is just like, this guy is walking across America or something like that. That's the story. That's the thing that he's doing, but that's still not the story. Like, what's the story in there? What angle are you taking? Is it like him battling with the things inside, or is it the reason why he's doing it? What's the actual story there? So yeah, that's the hard part about doc filmmaking.
Yeah, I think there's first of all, there's like the storytelling aspect of it that I think is super important to think about. Like for us, like having the right characters is everything. Like if you don't have the right characters, you have to fight every day to get the story out there. And I think when I made my last film, The Pearl of Africa, which also sold to Netflix, that was like a revelation for me in terms of like working with a film like that and really understanding, like probably took a year for one of the characters to be comfortable to actually do an interview, and how long that process can be to get them all natural in front of the camera. And then once we did, like on the last shoot that we did, he did like the most perfect interview, and he was perfect. Like it couldn't have been better. He was so emotional and like everything was just perfect, but it took a year to actually get him to that place. So for us, like we want that when we cast people, we want people to be there, to be ready, to be like filmed and be open, and to have, for instance, like the location, for instance, you pick a character that has a location that can tell or help tell a story. So everything you have in terms of like having a story, that can be, for instance, like a conflict between a mining company and a community that we're focusing on. But then you need to think about like, how do you incorporate visually the story somehow, which could be like the environment, the place that they're in, how does it look, how do you get that to be a part of the character, and how do you get that to be part of the story is like essential. But then practically I think it comes down to just going out and shooting and just seeing where it takes you, because that's like the biggest hurdle is actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about documentary filmmaking, is that you can't really plan everything. Like for most docs, or a lot of docs, you just have to go out there and kind of explore with your camera. So it's like, it's really, really daunting and like really like, it's kind of scary, because you don't even know if you have a good story yet, because things change as you're going along, and like you can't control how the story is going to go. Is there going to be like a definitive ending to whatever is going on with the characters, or is it just going to keep going like it's unsolved? Like, so there's a lot of things that you can't control, and you just kind of have to explore as you're doing the documentary.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I did it too when I started out, you know, you do it all on passion, and you don't really understand what the film industry is. And if you want to take the step to like make a doc, then you can just do that on passion. You don't need like anybody to give you permission or anything. But if you want to make it into like a profession, and if you want to take the step to actually get like funding and sell a film and everything, then I think you need to go out and like understand how the film market works, which you can do at film festivals, film markets. Just go there and try to understand the network and learn how people are like selling to people. Like, why do you need a sales agent? Why do you need a film festival premiere? Why shouldn't you take a small festival but a big festival premiere? Those things are super crucial if you want to make it to a career. Yeah, there's so much stuff that goes into documentary filmmaking. It's like, it's pretty wild. Like, it's just such a big project. And like when we filmed the first time, right away people are asking like, oh, when's the doc gonna come out? It's like, I don't know, maybe like a year from now. Like, but maybe. You always underestimate as well. Like, I think you can make it quick, but the process of funding is so slow that you have like this whole industry that's super slow. Like, we could go out and make it. For instance, the crowdfunding campaign now, that actually makes it possible for us to go and get ahead of, because the way it usually works is you need to invest your own money before you can get any money. So you won't get any money to go and shoot your first time. Now we were in Kino and shot for 3 days. And then that material comes together to form like a sales pitch type of reel that you then like shop around, and you try to get funding to go again. And then that goes like on and off until the film is done. So you don't get like all the money, go make a film. It's usually just like trying to make it step by step. Yeah.
And now you sold your last documentary to Netflix. Would you recommend that for people, or do you think like nowadays a lot of people should be just like posting on YouTube and like going that route, like kind of like traditional versus new school?
I think there's like two sides of it. Just like, okay, film festivals is super important to do if you wanna like be part of the film industry. Then that's crucial because you have the industry there. It's that simple. Like, if you want to have, for instance, Netflix and HBO and all of those, it's a greater chance if you go through the festival route. If you put it online, it's a big chance that it's just dependent on what audience you have. If you do have an audience, then I totally think it makes sense to do it, because then you can actually get people to watch it, and you can get much more viewership online. That's for sure. Like, in terms of viewers, film festivals and that sort of thing gives nothing to a film, but in terms of the sales and all that, it's something different. And usually a doc doesn't make any money, but just to cover the cost of making it, you're forced to sell it somewhere. And for us, like Netflix, it made sense for that film because that kind of launched a career, and it was like a good strategic choice. And I think for first-time filmmakers or second or something like that, it's definitely worthwhile. But now I look to like put together more of a bigger type of distribution idea for a film. So we're talking to agents in Hollywood already with this project, and they're like the top documentary agents. So we're trying to put together like, okay, a package with them, and then that's gonna be pitched. And that could be to anyone, if it's like HBO, Netflix, whoever. But that's like a process in itself to get it to that stage. And I think if you can sell an originals deal to Netflix, then it's amazing, because you won't get, I think, enough push if you just license it like we do. Then you don't get so much exposure as you should for a film on Netflix.
Right. And Netflix is kind of interesting it's kind of opened up the whole documentary world again for a lot of people, and like kind of I think it's kind of like been a window or a door for a lot of people to realize like, oh, documentaries can actually be like really interesting, really good, and not just like these like typical like, I don't know, old school nature documentaries where it's just a guy narrating the whole time, you know.
No, most of them are cinematic and really well like, produced and told as a story that could be on a cinema screen as well. So you really don't like it's not a thing that you think is less than a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
Should we get another question?
Yeah, I've been kind of following, but do you have a question?
I do.
Someone is asking me why my beard is shiny. It's an important question. This is, guys, the reason why it's shiny is called a kick light right here. This window is bouncing off my skin and going into the camera. Kick light. There you go. Yeah. That's why.
Learning every day.
Yeah.
I don't see your stream though, so I don't see how.
That's what
I just see the Skype. No, I got one here. In which end do you usually start? Does it start with an idea that develops into a doc, or do you decide that you're making a doc and then come up with a subject? Marcus Adrianson. I think, like usually when you start out, you just do it from passion. So you can start out with like a fragment that you don't have any plan and any idea. You just go out, and the process of making docs is so like you don't know anything. You just go out and you search for answers, and you try to go with the flow. Like you see this, you shoot this, and then like you go and review that, and you go in a different direction. But with like experience, now you actually can. For me, I've done this for 15 years, so it's easier to like step back and see, okay, this is actually what was successful, the last project. So then you try to refine that on each project. So for this, we really focused on like characters from the get-go. Like first you start with an ID. We researched an ID. We've actually shot 2 weeks in like Piteå, Sweden, 1 week in Lofoten, and then we discovered Kino City, and then we went to Kino and shot 3 days. And those like shoots that we had before, I see them more as research now than I think it's going to be something that's going to be a doc. I don't know, maybe it turns out to be a different doc than this one, and we're making 2, but it just is like the process is that if you're listening to the material and seeing like where it's going, then you focus in on those things, I think.
Someone asked a good question is like, what are some tips on interviewing? How do you make it feel more conversational versus a list of questions? And I think one of the things that I definitely, especially in Kino, is like when the people are in their own element, they're way more likely to just talk normally. And that's what you want. You don't want a person to feel like there's a camera in their face and they're talking to a camera. So like having them in their like kind of like natural habitat really helps to make it more conversational. But as you're talking to them, you gotta, it's a little bit different than having a normal conversation, because you need to let them talk more. And then also you need to be kind of like leading their conversation, like the things that they're talking about, because, you know, if you just ask like, do you like living in Canada? And then they're just like, no. Well, then that's not going to get you like what you need. So like, how do you phrase the question, or how do you like get a little bit more of an answer from that? So it's a really interesting thing. But if the more you can make it just like a normal conversation, I feel like that's the best thing for interviews.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that like we have kind of understood by working is that we want to do interviews as late as possible, because that's when people can formulate it properly. Yeah. So I usually don't like sitting down with people and doing interviews, especially like the first day. That doesn't make sense, because you don't like, for research even, it doesn't make sense. So for me, I usually do like a pre-casting process where we do pre-interviews. Usually that's not even me doing it. It's usually some casting person that does it. And for Kino, that was the case as well, because we had a location manager that was with us, and he had done a doc there. So he actually went there and he met with them and he talked with them and he did the interviews before we got there. So he was like a connection to the people there. So when we got there, they were pretty natural because they had a relationship with him already. And I think that's like a secret to getting closer to people on a shorter amount of time. Because for us, we just like walked in and then they were buddies because he was buddies with them. So it was easier because we've set that up beforehand. But then I also
Yeah,
think it's just hanging out with them and letting it take
yeah,
time and
exactly.
get to know them. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and sometimes we would just hang out with them with our cameras, and you're kind of like just like hanging out
yeah,
like friends. But then you notice something important's happening, and then you kind of like
yeah,
start like kind of half secretly. You just like slowly like get your camera and you start filming because like, oh, this is good. So yeah, you just really gotta go with it. What was? Oh, sorry. There was a question. Do you follow a schedule or a checklist? I think that's kind of interesting. Like okay, I was saying like you can't plan a documentary.
yeah,
But we did still have, we didn't have like an exact schedule, but we did have like okay, we're going to go film this character in the morning, and then this guy gets off work, so we're going to go to his place, and he's going to take us there, and we're going to follow along with him. So you do definitely need to have a schedule and a checklist to, you know, like, especially as it goes along, you're like, oh, I need this kind of shot, or I need to ask him this question. Like, make sure you have those so you don't forget them, because you will forget them. There's so many things to remember as you're doing a documentary.
yeah. I usually think of like going in. I usually think about it in like scenes. So you make a scene list that you think will tell the story that you're trying to tell, and then you try to get those scenes, rather than having like, usually when you work on like smaller productions, it's easy to have like a shot list or something, but on a doc it's really difficult to have that, because that doesn't tell the story. It's just like ticking off like shots, and that's it. There's too much that you need to capture for that to be effective. So usually it's like, this scene can tell this story, so we're trying to get these types of scenes, and then it's about like bringing home the shots from that. And usually when we get there, we sit down with a character, we talk to them and see what their schedule is like, and ask them like, can we do this? Can we do that? And some things they say we can't, and some things it's not possible because of the weather. So we had one scene that we wanted to do in the mountain, but rationally it didn't make sense to go there on quad drives and getting all muddy and spending like a day to do it, to get that one scene. So we kind of erased that from the schedule, and then we like reorganized it to make sense. And certain thing was just going with the flow. We had a couple that we didn't plan to shoot, but then it made sense. We talked more with people, and then like, we need to get them. They're essential for the story. So you need to adapt, but you still need to plan, I think.
Yeah. Jan is asking about reenactments. Have you done reenactments?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my opinion. For like, I think it's always better to actually get the action yourself, like instead of relying on reenactments. But reenactments can work too. But as I'm thinking about it, I don't know of too many documentaries that I absolutely loved and that were really reliant or heavy on reenactments. I don't know what your answer is, but
I think the same. Like, you want to have it for real if you can, but there are like tons of times that you can't.
Yeah.
And there's a tons of times that you need to. For instance, like Werner Herzog is like the biggest champion of this. Like, what you're trying to tell is not like, you're not trying to show actually what's happening. You're trying to get the audience to actually understand on like a deeper emotional level and understand things. And sometimes you need to make that like in a cinematic way that is not the way it is like playing out in real life. So for that, I think it's super effective. I did one for Pearl of Africa, for instance. I did a scene where like I needed a scene that could show like what was going on, as so just like a short pitch for the film. It's a film about a trans woman, and it's a love story, but then she's forced to leave Uganda where the story takes place, and then as she gets like in the front page news because she's a homosexual, she's like outed, and then she has to flee the country. I couldn't shoot that process because it was too hostile at the moment, and everybody went underground and you couldn't move around with a camera, and I was in Sweden, and it was just super difficult. So then we had to, like, when I came back, and this was shot in Kenya even, because that's what she was at the time, I had to reenact like what happened then, because you wanted some cinematic way of capturing that. So I just thought of like, okay, let's just direct them just sitting on a couch, being, you know, intimate with each other, and that's it. And that's what you see in the film, is just that. And then the rest is like told through archive and through another guy who was there actually. So we mixed his like GoPro footage and then my more cinematic footage, and that worked. And nobody has thought about it, but it's just a way that you need to make it work sometimes to make people understand it.
Yeah, that's what I think about it. It's like it's a great way to tell a story, but if you can get it for real, sometimes you just can't get it for, like, it happened a long time ago, or it's just not possible for whatever reason. I'm gonna get back to my 500K topic, and I gotta go in a little bit because I'm doing a family shoot today, family photos. So I have to be out of here at like 3 p.m., which is in like 20 minutes. Any final words, Johnny? Go and check out the Kickstarter for the documentary if you're more curious about
Go
stuff.
check out the Kickstarter, and for anybody that wants to learn filmmaking, if you're interested in documentary filmmaking, the Kickstarter is definitely something that you want to check out. It's both me and Matti and us just like joining forces. I think the project in general, you can follow it already because we've done a lot of videos on the behind the scenes. But basically, we're doing a behind-the-scenes documentary about making the documentary and just taking you guys along. So check that out, and
and check out his channel, Creative North. Go and check out his YouTube channel.
Go check it out. But congrats to the 500K, man.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is
crazy.
Okay,
right,
but I'm gonna
talk to you later. Thanks for joining us, Johnny.
Bye. Yeah.
All right, bye.
Okay, guys, that was Matti. I'm just gonna continue with your guys' questions. Let me know what you want to know. I'll just go from up to down. How did we connect and meet? Seth Bates asks. We met online, like we just started talking together. It was a while back, like I talked about this in the beginning, so I'll just like elaborate a little bit, but we started just talking about doing something together. This was a long time ago, and then eventually we came up with this project and wanted to collaborate, and Matti wanted to make a doc, and it felt like we had like a natural intent of how we could collaborate, so we started working on this whole project together. So far it looks amazing. Like I want to make this doc so bad. Dries. In my first year of film school, this is perfect live stream. Yeah, awesome. Hope this helps. Like this types of live streams, I think it's kind of hard to have a consistent live stream, like going and reinventing yourself all the time. So it's fun to just do this random thing that is just like a regular Q&A, but I want to try to do like more a consistent type of theme because it becomes more searchable. But this is nice to do like this type as well. D, uploading your doc directly to YouTube, how does that make money? I think anybody that makes a doc that is like starting out to make a documentary, you shouldn't think about money at all. I think most people don't make any money until like the third or fourth film. So that can be like pretty rough to hear, but it's just that you need to kind of build both. You need to build yourself in the industry, and you need to build a track record towards your audience. And if you like just jump that and think that like one film, oh now this is gonna work, it doesn't work. So I think like having a long-term plan is much more worthwhile. And then thinking about YouTube can really make sense if you do it and have an audience and have built an audience. But in general, like if you want to make money, selling is the only way. Usually you want to have like a big Sundance premiere, and you want to have all the distribution companies just chasing you, and then eventually that can lead to you selling the film like globally and having a big deal, maybe doing theatrical or selling it straight to Netflix as an original. But that doesn't happen for like most people. 98% of the people, that doesn't happen. So if you want to be that 2% or whatever it could be, then like you really need to have the best film out there, because it's super competitive. There are so many films that are amazing that don't get distribution. So I think that don't like count on that happening. If it happens, great, but yeah, try to build a audience and try to build a whole ecosystem and platform for you to like empower yourself to make films, instead of thinking like this film is gonna make it. Let's see, what do we got here? How do you guys split the work? Who is better, editor, color grader? Actually, like we're not even there at that stage where we're actually in post-production. Like that's far away. Usually the process is like, okay, we shoot, we try to make trailers which can sell the film, and then that can like get us to the next stage, Editing might start half a year from now. I don't know. Like I'm making the sizzle reel that we're using now and that sort of stuff, but in the end we're gonna collaborate when it comes to like working on the whole story structure and everything, but that's so far the line that we're not even thinking about it. Yeah, but we're probably gonna get an editor as well. Like we're gonna do the groundwork, but then we're probably getting an editor. Bojan, what advice do you have for beginning video editor who wants to enter the world of doc editing? Where to start? How do you get your first gig when you're not proven? I think like it all comes down to having a network. Like all my chances, because I worked as an editor for probably like 7 years in TV, like doing cinematic type of documentaries. And the way I got started was just by chance. I was a cinematographer on a show, and then the editor that was there, he just like went away. He just disappeared. Didn't want to do the project. I was the only one that knew the material, and it was a week from having like the first episode broadcasting. So I was the only one that they knew how to edit. I'd done a doc by then, and like I knew how to do stuff. So kind of weird, like I just got a chance to do that series, and then ever since I did all their TV shows. So that's usually how it goes. Like you do not plan it out or anything when you get your chance, but you can kind of structure that. You can go and work on, for instance, the way that most people get into the industry when they do work as an editor is on all the reality TV shows. And then you get a network, so people can like, oh, reality TV. But that's where most people are schooled today, because that's the editing gigs that are out there. So I would not like frown upon that. I would go and try to do reality TV, try to just see it as a learning experience, but like for the most part, a networking experience. Try to build your network and try to get your name out there and try to build relationships, because that's how you're going to get your chances, when people see that you're good. And then make passion projects on the side and do stuff that you believe in as well, and then try to make people see that. What do you think is the most important aspect that makes a good documentary? Pause. Of course, story is like essential, but I think that's pretty obvious. I think the most important thing that usually makes or break a project is time. Like if you rush a project, or if you rush trying to get like the film done out to festivals, that usually means that if you don't have the experience, it results in a lesser film. So the more you can actually like invest in having the story develop to be something organic, because that's what happens with time. As long as you've casted a good character, if you give that person time and you have that like longevity in terms of the story, like things happen, things change. Like whatever your initial conflict was, like the idea for conflict, that's gonna evolve the more you follow. and the idea is going to develop the more that you spend time. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me, like actually having like the trust that the more time you spend and having like just a persistent to be there and to show up and to shoot things. That's essential for me to find the story, because you know, story is essential, but just being there and just finding the story is what's crucial. Could you recommend a good documentary in your opinion? Bombay Beach, amazing. Alma Harel, amazing, she's great. Okay, Matthias, what do you think is the general direction that documentaries is taking? Meaning Netflix with jail murder documentaries that doesn't really connect to you personally, or I think. Okay, so there's a continuation. Bigger documentaries like BBC Earth, these super high budgets, more personal documentaries like Pearl of Africa. It's kind of hard to say, because we had a pitch at the Swedish Film Institute like 2 days ago or 1 day ago, something like that. And then they are eager to make the documentaries in Sweden into bigger budgets, to kind of give you the same budget as a feature film fiction would get. So in that sense, I think that they want to make like bigger documentaries that have a bigger type of blockbuster potential, and that goes in line with what I think Netflix does in terms of docs as well. Not in terms of series though, because Netflix does the series in a different way, like Making a Murder, and that sort of docs are like, I think they become big just because it's Netflix that does the promotion. I don't think it would have gotten as big if you don't have that like big network that Netflix has. I think that the story is not that different than other stuff that are also good and kind of similar. Like, but it is like a buzz, and there is a Netflix behind it, and then everybody has it. So that's like essential, I think, in terms of things becoming big now. If you have something that Netflix pushes, then it becomes big, if it's good enough. Blockbusters in terms of like going to the cinema, I don't think exist in that sense for docs. Like some films that have high profile, like a Lady Gaga film, that might do really well because there's an audience for it. But other than that, I think that it's so random, and usually it comes down to having a film that comes out at the exact time where it's making a buzz. So like hooking into something that people are trying to report on. Call Me Kuche is an example in Uganda, for instance. There was a murder in Uganda of a gay activist, and then that happened while they were shooting. It changed the whole film, and then a couple of like big funding organizations in the US got behind the project, and then when you get that, things just start to roll, and that project just, you know, it blows up because you have the right people behind it, which is crucial. You need to have like a Sundance Institute or a Tribeca Institute or those behind you for a film that isn't, you know, the big Netflix films or Hollywood films to actually succeed. And when you have those behind you, you can also succeed with a small personal doc. So it kind of depends, but I think you need to be super strategic about it. I don't think that any film will make it at all if they don't have the film industry like understood. It's just too many films that are too good to compete with. But then there's a different aspect which I think is going to happen that hasn't really happened yet, but the big influencer type of filmmakers that's going to come, like YouTubers, whatever, like when they start to make films and get an audience, like just look at the fight with the Paul brothers, for instance. Like it competes with pretty much a UFC fight, which is pretty insane. But that kind of leverage towards an audience is going to change the fundamentals of film distribution, I think. Mark asks, what style will it be? Is most of the work done while filming behind the scenes on the site, or is it teaching you as you see it in post-production? Will it include pre-production as well? Yeah, we do pretty much everything I think we're gonna do. Like everything this channel is gonna be about is gonna be so focused around like what we're doing at the moment. So the more we can do the doc, the more it's gonna be about making a doc. Most of the stuff that we do now is turning to be more doc focused. So we're gonna try to, as much as we can, make it about making the doc. So we've done like 3 episodes now how we were like in LA trying to pitch the documentary. I think that I have one more that's coming out this week that's about like what it's like pitching, like what's needed, why it's important, that type of thing. So certain more like vloggy type of documentary styled episodes is gonna be that. And then it's gonna be like straight up having live sessions with me editing a scene. That's gonna happen pretty soon, like next week or something. Like having a in Resolve, trying to just structure a scene and edit a scene from Kino and just having that done live. Other things would just be like short videos and tips on certain aspect of making a documentary. So if everything, I think more and more is going to turn out to be about that. But if we don't make the doc, then you know it's going to turn into something else. Like it's going to be more about ads because we need to build the bill. So the more ads we do, the more it's going to be about that. But the more we make the doc, the more it's going to be about that. That's usually like how it goes. But expect a lot of stuff around documentary filmmaking. Seth asks, system, your Windows or Mac? Mac. That was the issue today when we were doing the live stream. Crazy. Like Skype has this protocol that's amazing for having these types of things, but now we had to buy a program for $100 just to do this live stream, like per person, and then do this like looping of audio to get the audio into the program OBS, which we're streaming with. It's crazy. Yeah, just side note to having a Mac, but I love the Mac. But yeah, I could actually get a Resolve station though as a Windows computer. That would be pretty good. Any essential computer-based equipment you would recommend? It depends on what your level is in terms of grading, but I think this one, a grading panel, that's like a, when you start to get precise, super important for me. What else? Like, I can't show it, but oh, maybe I can. Okay, wait a second. Let me see if I can. I tried this out. This might be hard. I think this is gonna work. So I tried this app out that is supposed to, unfortunately just with USB, but you should be able to use the phone in OBS. Let's see. I'm just gonna try to switch. Maybe I messed this up. I'll just try. No? Okay, let me see if I need to start something. What's it called then? I gotta try this just because I haven't tried it. Because I've been thinking, okay, so how long of a USB cable can you use? This is also an issue with Mac. If you had a PC, you could use this wireless. Let me see. Applications. Can't even find it. Okay. I'm not gonna be able to do this now. Next time. But it's pretty cool because you can actually use the phone and you can do it as a second cam for in OBS. So you can live stream and have the phone be a second camera. But obviously I don't know how to do it, but eventually I might. Yeah, I don't have that much, like, but this thing that I wanted to show you is like a USB type of audio card. That helps a lot when you want to record things. Obviously I don't really know how to use it because I always forget that I have to add it in OBS when I live stream, because I always forget the audio. But yeah, I try to get it to work. Speakers is important. A monitor that's good. 10-bit monitor is important. A video card like the Blackmagic Ultra Studio Express, that type of card to get a 10-bit signal is important for me, or to get like a full screen type of image going. I think those things are what I usually use. I'm not so, like, I don't have that much hardware stuff. I just use a laptop because that makes it simple. Favorite movie of all time at the moment? It's so sad, I don't watch movies anymore. It just becomes, first of all, I have kids, so I usually have to watch like Peppa Pig or something. So that's one thing. Or what am I watching now? Like I have to watch Gen, what's it called? Gen, I don't even know. Gen something. Yeah. I just watch kids movies. But anyway, old movies. I said Bombay Beach. I think a film that I watched, which was probably the last film I watched, and this was a long time ago, probably 6 months. Given, I think it's called Given, on Netflix. That one was good. I like that. Otherwise, man, I'm so bad at this. I'm just thinking I'll repeat the same stuff that I've said, and I don't want to do that. Okay, anything from Von Kar-wai. Watch what he does. Amazing. Christopher Doyle, usually DP. At least used to be. Are you considering, when you feel that your community you want behind you here, to open a membership part like Matti just did? Yeah, probably. I think so. We're actually like thinking about starting like a more of an academy type of thing. I don't know how the membership for YouTube is in terms of like they take a cut and all that. Why not just use it on our website? I think that would make more sense to me, having like a closed group of people that we're thinking of doing like a mentorship program type of thing. So 20 people or something. People apply with their projects and we try to make them happen, that type of thing. And having a membership on fewer people and just like trying to coach and make those projects happen, that type of idea. And I don't know, that's just our idea of having like a more intimate academy that actually helps people to make the films. But more in general, I think, yeah, probably will do some type of membership, but I don't know how it's gonna look like. But we'll see. It's probably gonna be something though. Where did I go? Here we go. Bad Karma. Where can I see your documentary? Is it on Netflix? And if, what's the name? I think that their license ran out like just a month ago or something. So if you still have it on Netflix, it's probably just because it's some place where it was probably online later or something like that. I think that it's gone in the US and Canada and those places. But look for The Pearl of Africa. If it's there, it's there. We're gonna put it up on our website though. So I'll let you know soon, as soon as I get some time to upload it. Should be any day. Kevin, what's experience? Oops. jumped. What experience do you have with Blackmagic Video Assist on non-Blackmagic cameras? I pretty much just use it with Blackmagic cameras. Yeah. Yeah. Because I never use it with this one. Yeah. Peppa Pig, I have kids too, and that's a popular one in our house. Yeah, that's the thing, like, how much can you watch the same thing? Is there a documentary created for kids? I actually don't know. I watched a lot of Petson and Findus, and that seemed really weird because it was like dubbed, and Swedish films are usually not dubbed, it's usually English. Yeah, I don't know. That's not a documentary though. Javier asked, what would you recommend when filming sensitive situations, interviewing a victim, and avoid being violent, somehow being in the power position when filming? I think it's super hard when you're, especially if you're a guy interviewing a woman or something like that, like when there is a disconnect in terms of it being separated by, for instance, you're an outsider and you have this someone that is like Cleo from Uganda, me coming in being a cis male, that's gonna be something that she questions just as it happens. So in order to build trust, you need to spend time and you need to like explain your intent and talk to them and get them to understand that you're not there to like do one thing, and then of course you need to not do another thing that you say that you're gonna do, but you need to earn their trust. And you need to have patience that can take time, and that you do before you start shooting anything, because when you have the trust then you can just film anything and people are comfortable. But before you have that, I think that you should avoid shooting at all. I think that you should probably just like see it as a research phase when you just meet people over coffee and explain your intent and have conversations and see what, like, ask them what they're worried about and like what they don't want the film to be, like all those things, like their worries in just being there. Those things you need to know for you to maneuver them and not, you know, be offensive or whatever it is. And in terms of like interviewing a victim, it can be hard. I think like most people are ready to shoot when they say that they're gonna do it. They're ready, so they're ready to talk to anybody. So then it's more about like just me being like respectful and sensitive and listening, but it's just like getting them to be trusting you. That's the biggest issue, and I think most of that you do before you start the interview. So once you start the interview, I think it's more about just listening and following and like asking follow-up questions rather than just like doing your thing. Yeah. Sounds pretty much like what full-time filmmaker does with his academy style of teaching. If you know who that guy is. Oh, okay, yeah, I think I've seen some ads from that. I think our thing is not that. Like what we want to do is having a documentary mentorship program. So let's say you have a doc that you're trying to make. You apply just like we apply when we apply for grants or something. You would apply to get mentorship from us within like a closed group, but it would be with a project, and you would have an idea and you would have an intent of making a documentary film. So it would be a project that is like a feature film ID or something, or a short film ID, but I think we would like prioritize feature film IDs and have some like standard in terms of what the vision is for the project, and having just a mix of people and having different types of projects, just so people can like empower each other as well and create a network. So I don't think it's so much about like filmmaking in general. I think there's so many other people doing that. Matti is doing that, for instance. Like that's more of like a general type of filmmaking empowerment. I think our thing is documentary, and I think that's where we can be like the biggest help because of our experience. So I think that's what it would be. It would be just like guiding you through like shooting. Okay, so maybe you apply with a trailer, you've casted some people, but then you get guided through until you're doing your distribution, that type of thing. So how do you do like feedback for a rough cut, all those things, like it's just a long process. Please make a video about framing and composition. I should soon cinematography soon. Let's see, let me just see if I had some questions before on Instagram as well. Let's just see what's up with my internet. Turn it off. Live streaming too much. And let's take another question while I look. Thanks so much for the tips. Going to Istanbul next week to try to have a close experience with refugees. Really like your work. Thanks. I'm actually going to Turkey. I'm going to the south next week. Yeah, first time I shoot for a while. Oh, I turned the data off. That's why I'm not getting anything. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Anything around audio would be insightful. Okay, so particularly audio running gun setups. Okay, so my usual audio setup, like it's totally different if I do something that's doc based or if I do something that's just, you know, vlogging based. I'm not like a big fan of having a big mic on a camera. But sometimes I do, just because it's super comfortable. So when I do doc work, let's hope this doesn't break. We're good, I think. So this is like my audio setup usually, is like having on the talent, having one or two, whatever it is, lavs. This is a Sanken Cos with Electrosonics PDR. Like I love these. It's not wireless, that's the point. It's wired. I just put these on them to have good quality audio. Usually I have like a lav, how do you mount a lav thing, so check that out. But that's what I usually do. And then I have a Sennheiser 416 that I'm using on the Ursa right now. So I have one of those on the camera, or sometimes I even use two of them. And when I have two of them, I have them because I want to have a conversation where two people might talk. So maybe sometime you go out and you shoot with somebody and you only have one person that you're shooting, and then you have this one. And then all of a sudden you come to a cafe and two people meet and they're going to sit and they're going to talk, or on a bench or something. This one works for one person, but you want to have the mics as well. So I sometimes have two mics. And I have them on like a NATO rail type of solution, where I can just like unscrew a thing and then put them in an angle like this. So it would be like one pointing towards one and one pointing towards the other one, just to get like good crisp audio from both of them on a directional mic. That's a solution that I just have fallen in love with, just because I want to have like the best audio that I can. So that's usually how I think about it, like as simple as possible. Having a recorder rather than having wireless is more reliable for me. I've done so much stuff with wireless that I'm just so fed up with all the signal crap that you get from them. So I just like throw those away. I have them somewhere over there. Sennheiser G3 system. And then I got these, and since then I've been so in love with them. There's cheaper versions of this, which is like a Tascam has one. So just having those is more reliable, and then it comes down to mounting it correctly. But then having the big thing is having both of them, because you know sometimes these fail, sometimes that one fail, and you just want to have a versatile setup. Another suggestion that I would have in terms of audio is just like sometimes you put this one on a table, or you hide it somewhere where people are talking. So if you're having like two people talking, you put it in between them in order for it to pick up as much of their conversation as you can. Just put it on the table and hide it away or something. And if you have it in a car, like noisy situations, for instance, try to lav both people, because the closer you get, the less noise you're going to get from the place you're in. So for instance, recording here, the ideal thing to record is using this mic. This mic goes into OBS, so now you're hearing this one, but when I record the this thing, me talking, it's actually recording on the directional mic on the camera, and that's gonna have worse audio because this is a hollow space. You have a lot of echo and stuff. So having a lav will compress everything because it's closer. You don't get so much bouncy around type of audio because it's, you know, more compact. So that's like a thing to understand. This is perfect in big rooms, for instance, because you get closer and you get more compressed sound. The directional mic is perfect if you can get it in an ideal distance and you can get it in a quiet room and that sort of thing. It's going to sound more natural. But a lot of the time the lav is what I would pick if I just had one. Okay. Okay, this is a good question, I think. Oliver asks, going out to film my first documentary in Japan in February solo. My question is, what do you wish you could have done differently on your first doc? What gear did you regret choosing taking? Like you usually take what you have. At the time, it was Serious Silence. It was during the 5D Mark II era, so it was this time when that was the cinematic type of cheap way that you can make films. At that time, the camera itself couldn't record anything like proper audio into the camera. It was too noisy, like the noise levels was insane. So that was an issue. I did dual audio because of that, but I also did straight into the camera a lot. For the doc, I did all into the camera, but because I used a lav, I could just boost the signal up and get decent audio. Doing that, like, it was a bit like there was noise in pretty much everything and you had to clean it up. I did use like a fantastic sound mixing and sound designer, so like the best one in Sweden, so that pretty much saved everything. If you don't have it, and if I would have done it myself, it would have sounded so freaking terrible that, yeah, it would be pretty much useless. So I would say like really focusing on using good quality audio is crucial if you want to make your film sound great. But there is a sheet to that as well. For me, just having good dialogue, just focusing on that. If you can just get good dialogue, which you get from lavs, not having them scratching, not having a lot of messy distractions with like noise from signals and all that, because you have wireless. If you just have good audio and then spending a lot of time doing the sound design, you can get away with having it sound like a big blockbuster type of film if you have a good mixing and good sound design. So I would say like focusing on getting good audio of the people speaking, and when you don't get it, you don't have to worry that much because you have an intent of actually making it sound more cinematic in terms of the sound design. So I would just like focus on getting the best quality shots that you could get. And for me, I had worked as a DOP for a while, so I still had like an intent and a perspective with how I shot it. Usually first time filmmakers, I don't think have that. They try to get everything. So that would be like something that I would really like focus in even more on. Try to like use the equipment that you have and to tell a story with that, like creating a perspective. But I don't think there's so much in terms of gear that I wouldn't had used, because I was so limited to what I had at the time. I just used what I had, and that was that. I think that's where you should start always. But if I could change, of course I would use like more modern equipment, but at that time I didn't have anything, so I just used what I had, and that worked out fine. But because I did the sound mixing and everything, so it wasn't so much about like what gear I would change. Yeah, today I would just shoot on the smallest possible camera though, that does amazing quality shots. Where can we find Zero Silence? Vimeo on demand, I think so. Vimeo on demand. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Last question here. Do you use any lighting for interviews, and do you recommend cheap portable lighting? I usually try to search for natural light from the window, but it's not enough sometimes. Yeah, I definitely do lighting, but the more expensive camera you get, the less you need lighting. So we didn't light anything, I think, in Kino, just because we shoot on cinema cameras. That's a big factor. I want like the biggest dynamic range, the cleanest image, because I don't want to light things because it's not practical all the time. If I'm doing ads, I'm usually lighting some stuff, but not everything. I try to have the best cameras, but like these types of panels are amazing. These are Westcott 1x1 maybe. BBS pipeline has like a 1/2 foot and 1 foot, 2 foot. Yeah, don't remember. I have like a one that's this big and one that's this big. The small one is the one that I use the most. I have 2 of those. It's just like a, I don't know, how big is it? Like this. Like in terms of like how, yeah, imagine it. Thought I had it here, but I didn't. Those are amazing because they're so portable and you can have them on batteries. Usually I use those. In a car, the pipelines are amazing. These are amazing if you just want to get like the ambient light in a room up, so to use the window that you have maybe, and then get the shadow side more details there, for instance, then just bounce this up in the ceiling, and that's as simple as it can be. Like, it's just using the natural light as much as you can, shooting in the right time of day where you have the nicest light for the story, those types of things. Okay, this is gonna be it for this week. Go check out the Kickstarter, The End of Bad Filmmaking. But I'll see you guys this week or next week live, but this week I'm gonna upload a video like Sunday, I think. Okay, see you guys. Bye bye.